Okay, good day to everybody. Welcome to Practical Research 2, a supplementary video that will help you in answering your modules. So before we start, let me introduce myself first. Again, I will be your teacher for this module. My name is Relly D. Castro. So here are the general instructions for the module. So let me read it to you. Whenever you see this mark, remember that you have to answer all the questions, drills, activities, and assessment on a separate sheet of paper or answer sheet, which will be submitted in the designated drop boxes. Include your name, your grade, and section, part of the SIP you're answering, date of submission, and complete answer for all the tasks given. Also, have your answer sheet signed by your parents. Okay, remember, there is no need for you to copy the questions on the answer sheet. Just make sure that you follow the instructions properly and write your answers legibly. In doing this, just follow the template or example below. Always remember, I encourage everybody to read the instructions very carefully before you start using the module. Okay, so today we're going to be continuing with our discussion. So the topic of our module for this week is research problem, the heart of the research process. So before we proceed with the lesson itself, we're going to be doing some preliminary activities that can help you understand more the topic. Okay, the objectives of this lesson is for you to state research problems and questions. So let's proceed with activity number one. So for activity number one, you are going to assess your prior knowledge about the topic by answering a few questions below. Okay, first, what is a problem? So in your own understanding, I want you to give the definition of the word problem. Okay. Second, what is a research problem? Again, with your own understanding, I want you to give the meaning of research problem. And the last question for these activities are, what do you think are the characteristics of a good problem? Write this down on your answer sheet. You can pause the video. After doing the activity, you can play again the video. Okay? Now, for activity number two, here is the question. Do you consider fertilizer as a problem or a topic? So I want you to choose between a problem or a topic pertaining to fertilizer. Okay, another question is, how about the effect of fertilizer on the growth of eggplant? It is a problem or is it a topic? Write your thoughts. Next activity is decoding the picture. So I want you to tell me what is the picture all about. So this is like a 4 picks 1 word game. So you have 4 pictures given. Okay, here, here, and here, and here. Okay, so these are the letters that you're going to be using to form the words that pertains to the 4 pictures. Write your answer on your answer sheet. Okay. For the next activity, so below is a diagram for formulating a research question. Start with the general topic, then narrow it down. The first one is done for you. Now, this is what we call as an inverted pyramid. It's a technique that we use in research for formulating a research question. Isa kasi sa pinakamahirap na part ng paggawa ng research is establishing a research question. So this is a good way for you to establish your research question. So you're going to be doing it step by step. Okay, so first step is start with a general topic. So think of a topic that is actually related to your field of study. So if you're a STEM, if you're a UMS or a GAS, so on and so forth, think of a topic that pertains or related to your field of study. So in this case, the topic that was given as an example is media violence. Okay? Now, if you have a topic that is considered to be as a general topic, meaning that it is still too broad to make a research about. So it is not yet researchable. Now, The next thing that you're going to do is to narrow it down. So the first step in narrowing it down is to browse a few general books, articles, or literature for ideas. So using the general topic, maghahanap kayo ng mga libro, ng mga magazines, ng mga literature, articles sa internet that is actually talking about media violence or the topic that you have chosen. And from there, you can pick again specific topics pertaining to your major topic. Now, the next step is again, you are going to narrow it down further. Narrow it to a specific question. Okay, narrow it down pa. And then the last step is narrow it further uh, as much as you can. Okay, so the examples given here are teens affected by violent media? So ask yourself, is it still too broad or it is specific enough? If it's still too broad, still you have to narrow it down. Now, is there any evidence that violent video games increases violence in teens? So, siguro yun na yung pinaka-narrow na pwede nating makuha when we are talking about media violence. So that is the example given using the inverted pyramid in helping you narrowing down your research questions. So now you are going to do it on your own. Now, below is a diagram for formulating a research question. Start with a general topic, then narrow it down. The first one is done for you. Now, like I've said before, you pick a general topic related to your field of study. If you're a STEM, an ABN, Humes, Gas, or TBL. And then use the technique, the inverted pyramid, in order for you to narrow down a general topic. Okay, again, you can pause this video and then we'll continue when you're done. Okay, so let us now continue. Now, in the above activity or the previous activity that you have done, you learn to make a specific research problem. From a general topic, you narrow it down to a specific research problem or question. Now, for this activity, you are going to try to identify the characteristics for a research problem by answering the following questions. So, take a look at your research problem na ginawa nyo from the previous activity and try to answer the questions basing on the research problem or research questions na nagawa niya sa nakaraang activity. So question number 1, is the problem clear in identifying the goal or focus for the research you'll be undertaking and why? Question number 2, is it clear how the area of study will be limited or focused or and why? Question number 3, does the answer to your problem have the potential for providing important and useful information for the community? Why? And question number 4, is the problem reasonable enough for the time, money, and effort? Now, let's try to discuss it one by one for you to clearly understand. For question number 1, it is asking, is the problem clear in identifying the goal or focus for the research? Does your research problem, yung bang research problem na na-formulate nyo from the previous activity, identifies the goal of your research? Binibigay ba nito kung ano yung goal, kung ano ba yung nais nyo marating doon sa research nyo? Oo or hindi? Yes or no? And then you explain why. For question number 2, is it clear how the area of study will be limited or focused? Why? So it means that yung bang research question nyo is specific enough, okay, or limited enough, or focused enough para masabi natin na siya ay researchable. Baka mamaya, yung research question nyo is still too broad, masyado pang malawak. Pag masyado kasing malawak, yung research questions nyo or yung research problem nyo, it is considered to be as not researchable or non-researchable. Again, yes or no. And then explain your answer. Why? Number 3, does the answer to your problem have the potential for providing important and useful information for the community? Now, is your research questions, if you're going to look for an answer for your research question, will it be beneficial? Makakatulong ba to sa society or community? Yes or no? Why? And number 4, is the problem reasonable enough for the time, money, and effort? So it means that, do you think that doing the research itself, kung gagawin nyo ba yung research na to, gagamitin ko yung word na sulit ba ito? Reasonable ba ito? Para doon sa oras, pera at yung hirap na gagawin nyo para matapos yung research nyo. Baka mamaya, magpapakahirap kayo, gagastos kayo, mag-uubos kayo ng oras para gawin yung research, hindi naman pala siya kapaki-pakinabang. Okay? So, yun yung apat na questions o yung apat na guidelines or yung apat na characteristics na kailangan na masagot nyo in order for you to determine if your research is good or not. Okay? Or the research question, rather. Okay. Now, let's proceed to the next activity. Okay, so by the way, that's of the activity, preliminary activity. We are now going to be proceeding with the topic of the discussion itself. So ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon is all about quantitative research problem. Let's focus first on the word problem. Ano ba yung tinatawag natin na problema? So let us read this part. Life is made up of both negative and positive aspects of life. Of course, ang buhay ng isang tao may negative aspect at merong positive aspect. Walang perpektong buhay. Experiencing something negative or making you fail to aver or affirm the existence of a thing you expected to see or happen is a natural occurrence in life. So, experiencing something negative o yung mga hindi maganda na nangyayari sa buhay natin, it's natural. It's normal. Okay? Kahit sinong tao nakaka-experience ng something that is negative. Now, this situation in life where you find difficulty in knowing or finding answers or solutions to question, causing you worries or perplexities is called problem. Itong mga negativity na to, wherein nagko-cause ito ng difficulty at ng worries sa atin, ito yung tinatawag natin na problema. Let's say, for example, nag-aaral ka as a college student, okay? And then, malapit na yung examinations nyo, kailangan mo magbayad ng tuition. Kung hindi ka magbabayad ng tuition, hindi ka makaka-take ng exam. So, binigyan ka ng mother mo ng pera para magbayad, para bayaran yung tuition mo, and then suddenly, yung perang pambabayad mo sana ng tuition mo na iwala mo. So, it will cause worries sa part mo. And that is what we call as a problem. Okay, generally speaking, that is a problem. Now, by nature, you or any person or do not want to stay long in a problematic kind of life. So, walang tao na gustong manatiling problema ang problema. Okay, walang taong ganon. So, by nature, tayo, we will always find solutions to problem. The good thing is, there is always solution to problem. Once you encounter a problem, being an inquisitive, okay, speculative and creative person, you immediately would like to find ways and means to free yourself from such a conundrum in your life. So, pag nagkaroon ng problema, gagawa ka ng paraan para masolusyonan yung problema na yun. That's the good thing about the human being. Hindi natin pananatiliing problema ang problema. Okay. Now, sparked by your curiosity or interest, you get to ponder on a problem needing answers. So this is the part that you're going to be thinking. Okay, or magpaponder ka. Ano ba ang posibleng solusyon sa mga problema na to? So you resort to thinking of what to solve, whom to ask, where to go, and how to do all the things you want to happen to find the answer to the problem. Okay? So, dito na papasok yung sino ba ang kakausapin mo, saan ka ba pupunta, ano ba yung mga pwede mong gawin para makita mo yung solusyon sa problema. Behaving this way, you are confronted sa tinatawag natin na research problem. Okay? So, if you behave that way. Okay. Now, a research problem is something that nurtures in your mind a difficulty of uncertainty enough to push you to do an empirical investigation. Okay, so balikan natin yung concept ng research. Bakit ba merong research? Research is done to solve problems. Okay? To solve problems. So, paano nangyayari ito? Problems are solved, answers to problems or solution to problems should always be based on knowledge. Always yun. Do not solve your problem. Huwag mong susolusyonan yung problema mo kung ang solution mo is only based on beliefs o yung paniniwala lang na hindi ka sigurado kasi baka mas lalong lumala yung problema. Okay. Problems, solutions to problems should always be based on knowledge. So how do we acquire knowledge? Through the process of research. Okay, specifically quantitative research. Quantitative research is an empirical investigation. What do we mean by the term empirical? According to Webster, yung word daw na empirical, it means that it is based on experience and observation. Okay. So when you are doing your research, you are doing an observation. Okay. And by doing so, you acquire knowledge. Aside from that, we also collect and analyze data. You don't just observe. Okay? Hindi lang kailangan yung observation. You should also collect the data necessary and then analyze that data or information through which you can find the right answer to your solution. Now, requiring you to adopt an empirical attitude, okay, toward your problem in a way that you depend on your sensory experience, conduct experimentation, or perform a scientific method in arriving at a truth about something makes your problem a researchable problem. Whenever you can apply an empirical investigation, whenever you can collect and analyze data, okay, that is considered to be as a researchable problem. If the problem itself if the problem presented, hindi ka pwedeng mag-conduct ng empirical investigation or hindi ka pwedeng mag-collect or mag-analyze ng data, that is a non-researchable problem. Okay? Bigyan ko kayo ng example. Let's say you want to determine the relationship between online gaming and academic performance. Okay, kasi napansin mo na yung kapatid mo na mahilig sa online gaming, parang bumababa yata ang grades. That's a problem. Okay, that's a problem. So you want to do a research. You want to find out if there is a relationship between online gaming and also academic performance. Can you conduct an empirical investigation? Yes. You can observe. Pwede mo obserbahan yung kapatid mo. Pwede mo obserbahan hindi lang yung kapatid mo. Pwede mo obserbahan yung ibang tao, which is also considered to be playing online games. Tingnan mo yung grades nila, collectahin mo yung grades nila, you analyze the data, okay, and then you can arrive at a conclusion. Okay, so that is empirical investigation. Therefore, the research problem is said to be a researchable problem. Okay? So, paano naman yung non-researchable problem? Pag non-researchable problem, you cannot apply empirical investigation. You cannot properly collect data. And if you cannot properly collect data, you don't have data to analyze. A good example of this is there a God? Okay? Yung tanong na meron bang Diyos? I'm not saying na walang Diyos, ano? Hindi ko sinasabi yun. Okay, I'm also a religious person. It's a matter of belief. What I'm trying to say is proving the existence of God. Meron bang Diyos? Can we do that? Can we do a research on that? Okay? Now, balikan natin uli yung characteristics. Can you conduct an empirical investigation about the existence of God? Okay? I doubt it. Okay? Hindi natin pwedeng obserbahan yan. Can you collect data about the existence of God? Again, hindi pwede. Okay? And because of that, you cannot analyze data. So you cannot prove or disprove if God exists or not. So therefore, that is a non-researchable problem. Okay? Again, uulitin ko, ano? Okay? Uulitin ko. Okay? It does not mean that God does not exist or exist. It means that you cannot prove it through the process of research. Therefore, it is a non-researchable problem. Okay, so that's the difference between researchable and non-researchable. If you can do an empirical investigation, if you can collect data, and if you can analyze that data, it is said to be a researchable problem. But if you cannot do an empirical investigation and you cannot collect data, therefore, nothing to analyze, that is a non-researchable problem. Okay. Let's continue on. Now, being researchable, your research problem becomes a quantitative research problem. So if a research problem is researchable, it is considered to be as a quantitative research problem. A quantitative research problem is not only characterized by precision, specificity, or stability, but also geared towards a possible result. So, result-based ang quantitative research. Bakit siya precise? Bakit siya specific? Because, and also bakit siya stable? Because it utilizes numerical data. Numbers ang ginagamit natin sa quantitative research. Okay? Numbers. So, your variables, yung mga variables mo, sinusukat natin to. Okay? Sinusukat natin yan, we measure it, and then we analyze it through the statistical means. Bakit numbers? Kasi numbers are stable. Numbers are solid. It's not fallible. It means that hindi mo siya pwedeng baliin. Okay? Kung ano yung lalabas na resulta through your mathematical and statistical computation, that's the result. Yun na yung pinaka-resulta nun. Hindi mo siya pwedeng baliin. 1 plus 1 will always be 2. Bali-balik ta rin man natin yan, 1 plus 1 ay 2 pa rin. Okay? So that's why quantitative research is considered to be as a researchable research. Okay? Next. So, punta naman tayo sa sources of quantitative research problem. Again, one of the things na nahihirapan ang isang researcher, especially yung mga kagaya ninyo na first time or newbie or wala pang masyadong alam tungkol sa process ng isang research is ano nga ba ang i-research nyo? What topic? Okay, anong topic? Saan nyo kukunin? Ang dami po nating pwedeng pagkunan. Here are some sources of quantitative research problem. Okay, number one, agencies of the government or any non-government institution. So basically, any institution, might it be under the government or might it be a private one, okay, can be a source of a quantitative research problem. I'll give an example. The Department of Education. The Department of Education is an agency under the government which focuses, of course, on providing education to the public. One of the projects of the Department of Education is the K-12 program. You can actually do a research, iba't ibang klaseng research, maraming klase ng research, quantitative research about the K-12 program. Okay? So that is under DepEd, which is under one of the agencies of the government. Diba? Ang dami. Pangalawa, your own experience or genuine interest on something. Okay? Again, sarili mong experience or yung sarili mong interest, pwede mo siyang pagkuhanan ng research problem or research topic. Let's say, mahilig kang kamukha binanggit ko sa inyo kanina, interesado ka na malaman mo kung may kinalaman ba ang online gaming sa academic performance. Kasi nga, yung brother mo ay bumababa ang grade, sa tingin mo, ang reason is yung online gaming. That is based on your own experience. Okay? And you are showing genuine interest in it. Okay? Hindi lang yun. Even on your field of study. For example, you are a HUM student. Okay? Gusto mong malaman if may kinalaman ba ang ICT integration sa pagtuturo, okay, sa academic performance ng mga bata. Okay? Again, your own experience and you are showing your genuine interest in something. Okay? Pangatlo, na possible source of quantitative research problem is previous research findings which you want to validate or consider as studies suffering from some inconsistencies or discrepancies. So what do we mean by this? Let's say may nabasa kang isang research. Okay, na ginawa previously ng mga nakaraang estudyante natin sa Cabiao Senior High School. And then, you want to validate it. Gusto mong malaman kung yung bang nilalaman ng research na yon ay totoo or hindi. Or gusto mong punan yung mga pagkukulang ng research na yon in arriving at a conclusion. Pwede yon. Pwedeng yun mismo ang maging source ng research problem mo. Pwede mong i-enhance yung research na ginawa previously. Okay? So ano pa yung pwede natin pagkuhanan ng quantitative research problem? Pang-apat, present political, social, or economic issues in our societies. Nako, ito, napakadami nito. Okay? Political issues, social issues, economic issues. For example, political issues, corruption. Pwede mong gawa ng research yan. Social issues, for example, suicide. Pwede mong gawa ng research yan. Economic issues, for example, poverty. Pwede mong gawa ng research yan. So marami kang paghuhugutan dyan. And of course, the last one is review of related literature. In review of related literature means written works. So, pag sinabi mong literature, anything that is written, that is considered to be as literature. So, kung ikaw ay mahilig kang magbasa ng libro, ng dyaryo, ng magazine, ng mga article sa internet, o yung mga post ng mga tao sa social media, pwede kang makakuha doon ng idea on a research problem. So, those are just some of the sources of possible quantitative research problem. Okay, so let's proceed. Okay? Next, let's talk about what is a research problem and what is a research question. Magkamukha ba sila or hindi? Okay, so there are similarities and there are also differences. So, first, let's talk about a research problem. A research problem is the topic to research on a beginning act on research. So, a research problem is the topic that you want to do research on. Okay? Ito yung ginawa natin kanina, kung maaalala nyo, dun sa may inverted pyramid. That is your research problem. So that is the topic that you want to do research on. Okay. Now, there are two ways in presenting your research problem. So I have an example here. You can present your research problem in an interrogative statement or in a declarative statement. Kahit ano naman pwede mong gamitin sa dalawa na yan. So what's the difference between the two? Pag sinabi niyong interrogative statement, it is a form of a question. Okay? Pwede niyong gamitin dito yung tinatawag natin na WH questions. Yung what, when, where, who, how. Yung mga ganon. So, an example ng interrogative statement is, what percentage of Manila private universities consider the use of grammar textbooks as the most effective way to help college students attain communicative competence? So, that is an interrogative statement ng isang research problem. Okay? Aside from an interrogative statement, you can also present it as a declarative statement. In a declarative statement, you are presenting your objective. Okay? Objective naman ang pinapresent mo dito, yung goal. Okay, na gusto mong marating for the study. Okay? So, same problem pa rin, pero iba yung presentation, declarative statement. So, an example is, the main objective of this study is to find out the percentage of Manila private universities considering the use of grammar textbooks as the most effective way to help college students attain communicative competence. So, they are the same research problem. Pareho lang sila. Okay? So, but the presentation is different. One is in interrogative statement and the other one is is a declarative statement form. Okay, so that is a research problem. Again, ulitin ko. Research problem is the topic to research on and a beginning act on research. So dito magre-revolve, dito iikot yung research process nyo, yung research sa research topic nyo or rather sa research problem nyo. Okay. Now, ano naman yung tinatawag natin na research questions? Research questions are sub-problems or sub-questions about your research problem. So, ito rin yung tinatawag natin statement of the problem. It means that yung research problem mo, it's still considered to be as broad. So, para masagot mo yung research problem mo na yun, how do I put this? Para chop-chopin mo siya into parts, answering, formulating sub-questions or sub-problems na kinuha mo doon sa research problems mo. Okay? And like the research problem, you can also present it as an interrogative statement or as a declarative statement. So, I have an example here. Again, balikan natin, ano? Here is your research problem. What percentage of Manila private universities consider the use of grammar textbook as the most effective way to help college students attain communicative competence? So, that is a research problem. So, ano yung mga pwede nyong hugutin na research questions? Yan. Okay? So, here are some research questions na hugutin natin doon sa research problem natin using an interrogative statement. So, number one, what is an English grammar textbook? Okay, that is a sub-question na pwede natin sagutin through the process of research that will help us find answers to our research problem. Second one is, what is a communicative competence? Third one is, what component of the grammar textbook work for communicative competence development? Number 4 is, how many Manila private universities require the use of grammar textbook, so on and so forth. So, itong mga statements na to, they are taken from the research problem. Parang chinap-chop mo yung research problems mo into part, asking more specific sub-questions or sub-problems. So, these sub-problems or sub-questions are presented as an interrogative statement. Again, question. Okay, question in the form of a question. You can also present it in a declarative statement. Pag sinabi natin declarative, you are defining your goal or the objective. So take a look at the difference. So sa declarative statement, to define a grammar textbook, to explain the meaning of communicative competence. Number three, to identify the components of the grammar book that work for communicative competence development. Again, so on and so forth. It's the same. Pareho lang sila. Magkaiba lang ng presentation. One is presented as an interrogative statement, and the other one is presented as a declarative statement. Okay, so that's the difference between a research problem versus a research questions. So recap tayo, ano? When you say research problem, it is the topic that you want to do research on. Okay? So it is the beginning up on the research. So dito magsisimula yung research nyo. That's a research problem. Pag sinabi nating research question, these are sub-problems or sub-questions about your research problem. Mga questions na hinugot nyo from your research problem mismo. So that's the difference between a research problem and a research question. Okay, so let us now continue. Okay, next, let's now take a look at the guidelines in formulating a quantitative research problems and research questions. So, ano yung guidelines na pwede natin gamitin para makagawa tayo ng isang magandang research problem or research questions? Number one, formulate a research problem that is researchable, meaning open to empirical investigation. So, napag-usapan natin ito kanina. Make sure that your research problem is researchable. Kailan nyo masasabi na ito researchable? If an empirical investigation can be made to address it. Okay? By collecting and analyzing data and also through the process of observation. Pangalawa, see to it that you state your quantitative research problem clearly, concisely, and possibly not beyond 12 words. Excuse me. Okay? So it means that you have to clearly state, okay, maliwanag, concisely, diretso yung topic na gusto nyong gawa ng research. Kumbaga sa ano eh, wag nang magpaligoy-ligoy pa. Dapat direct to the point yung research problem nyo. And if possible, okay, hindi naman required, but if possible, wag na siyang lalagpas sa 12 words. Okay, kasi pag lumagpas pa siya sa 12 words, minsan parang umiikot-ikot na lang yung statement. Okay? Now, pangatlo, have your research problem focus on a general standing of your research topic. So it means that your research topic should be focused. It should be specific. Okay? And as the researcher itself, you should gain a general understanding of your research topic. Paano niyo magagawa yon? Okay, tuturuan ko kayo later on sa mga susunod na topic natin. Ano? Okay? At pang-apat, construct a research problem that mirrors the importance of carrying out the research for finding answers or solutions to a problem. Make sure, siguraduhin nyo na yung research problem nyo or yung topic na gusto nyo gawa ng research is beneficial sa society or community. Okay? Huwag kayong gagawa ng research which can cause harm or confusion sa society. Make sure that it will answer a question that can actually be used by the society or the community to improve our way of living. So, yun yung guidelines sa, meron pa pala, I'm sorry. Next, number 5, let your quantitative research problem state the variables and the relationships with one another. Okay, so in formulating a quantitative research problem, make sure that you are going to also state the variables and the relationships with one another. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng variables? So variables are the characteristics that you're going to be measuring in your research. So make sure that you are also going to state that on your research problem. Example, you want to find out, babalik na naman tayo dito. You want to find out the relationship between online gaming and academic performance. So, ano yung variables natin? Ano yung i-measure natin dun sa research problem na in-state ko? Okay? What are the relationship between online gaming and academic performance. So the variables are online gaming and academic performance. Bakit yung dalawa na yon? Kasi yun yung i-measure natin. They are the variables of your research. So therefore, they are visible in the research problem. Okay, next, construct an introductory statement to present your research problem, which is the main problem of your research. So in this case, you are going to be doing a background of the study about your research problem to gain a general understanding about the topic itself. Next, state your research question or sub-problems not in the form of yes or no questions, but in informative questions. Now, when you are constructing your research problem or your research questions, make sure that it is not answerable by yes or no. So, kailangan it is an open-ended question. Okay? Wag na wag kayong gagawa ng research problem na pwede lang sagutan ng oo o hindi. Okay? Make sure that it is a what do you call this? An open-ended questions. Okay, and number 8, express your research problem and research questions either in an interrogative or declarative manner. So, kanina pinakitaan ko kayo ng example. Ano? Interrogative, it is as a form of question, and declarative, you are presenting your goals. Okay, so any of the two, if you're going to be using interrogative for your research problem, you are also going to be using interrogative statement on your research questions also. And if you're going to be using a declarative statement for your research problem, you're also going to be using a declarative statement for your research questions. Okay, huwag kakalimutan Huwag interrogative sa research problem tapos declarative naman sa research question. Don't do that. If it's interrogative, use interrogative. If it's declarative, use declarative. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Next, so let's talk about the types of quantitative research questions. So we have several types of quantitative research, specifically 3 types. Iba't ibang klase na research question. The first type is tinatawag natin na descriptive research questions. So in descriptive research question, you ask questions on the kind, qualifications, and categories of the subjects or participants. So in descriptive research questions, most likely you are just going to be asking a description about your participant. For example, demographic data. Okay? Halimbawa, what's the sex? Is it male or female? Ano yung edad? Okay? What's the address? Ganun yung descriptive research questions. Now, the second one are relation questions. Relation questions are questions about the nature and manner of connection between or among variables. So, in the relation questions, you are trying to ask a question about the relationship between variables. So, kagaya nga ng binigay kong example kanina, what do you think are the relationship between academic performance and online gaming? So, that is a relation questions. May kinalaman ba yung isang variable sa isa pang variable? So in this case, may kinalaman ba yung online gaming sa academic performance? The third one is yung tinatawag natin na causal questions. Causal questions are reasons behind the effects of the independent variable and the dependent variable sa focus of these types of research questions. Pag sinabi natin causal questions, ano yung dahilan kung bakit nag-occur yung isang phenomenon? Okay, ganun yung causal question. For example, what are the factors that causes poverty? Okay? Ano yung dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon tayo ng poverty? So that is a causal questions. So those are the types of quantitative research questions. Okay? Next, let's talk about the different approaches to quantitative research questions. So we have 2, deductive and inductive. So ito, madali lang intindihin to. Pag sinabi niyong deductive approach, your questions begin from hunches or prediction. It goes from bigger ideas to smaller ideas. So mag-i-start ka from general to specific. So that's what we mean by deductive approach. Pag inductive approach naman, kabaliktaran. You are going to start from smaller and simpler ideas to bigger or more complex one. So inductively formulated research question focus on description of things to prove an idea or system. So pag inductive, you start from specific to general, small to large. Okay, that's inductive. Ulitin ko. Pag deductive approach, general to specific. Pag inductive approach, specific to general. Okay. Okay, so I guess that ends our discussion for that lesson. Now, let's proceed with your activity. Now, so sa activity na to, makita nyo to sa modules nyo. So, the direction is you are going to check the column that speaks of the quantity of the given quantitative research, research problem. Okay? So, sa ano na to, you are going to be telling if the research problem is researchable or non-researchable. So, ang gagawin nyo lang, teka. Okay, so what you're going to do is, you're just going to be putting a check mark if it's researchable or non-researchable. For example, number one, what are the viewer's thoughts and feelings about the ending of the movie? Is it researchable or is it non-researchable? Pili lang kayo sa dalawa. Okay, binigay ko na sa inyo yung way. Okay, tinuro ko na sa inyo yung way para malaman nyo kung yung bang research problem is researchable or non-researchable. And of course, you explain your answer. Okay, next. Okay. Now, for the next activity, make your mind clear about each of the following expressions by stating what you mean about such word or phrase. Okay. Hindi na itong part na to. So, yun na lang part na yun yung gagawin natin. Okay? So, that ends my discussion for this video. I hope na nakatulong yung video natin para maintindihan at masugutan nyo yung ating module. Okay. Now, before I go, aside from the module itself, meron din kayong kailangan i-accomplish na learning activity sheets. Okay, so ito yung tinatawag natin na learning activity sheets. So, binigyan na rin natin kayo nito ng kopya. So, anong gagawin nyo rito? So, there are several activities here na kailangan nyo i-accomplish. Okay? So, madali lang naman to. So, basahin nyo lang and then take a look at the activities that you're going to do. For example, for the first activity, kagaya ng ginawa natin sa module, you are going to be determining if the research topic or research problem is researchable or not researchable. Again, lagay nyo lang ng check, yung box. Okay. Next is analysis. Question number 1, how will you identify if a topic is researchable or not? And explain ko na yon. So, you write your own explanation. Okay, kailan mo masasabi ng isang topic or problem is researchable or not? Okay, and then, check nyo, self-check. Identify the correct guidelines on selecting a research topic. So, using the topic na ginawa nyo kanina, i-check nyo tong criteria na to if it's yes or no doon sa topic, sa inverted pyramid natin, if you can still remember, yung sa research topic nyo. Okay, sagutin nyo lang to. So, number 1, should the research problem be interesting? Yung research problem nyo ba is interesting, yes or no? Number 2, will the research solve community problems? Again, you just check yes or no. Okay? Next is generalization. So, what are the guidelines on selecting a research topic? So, you write the guidelines. Ano yung guidelines na pwede nating sundin pag namimili kayo ng research topic? So, balikan nyo na lang doon sa modules natin, basahin nyo uli or panoorin nyo yung discussion natin sa video natin na to. Number application. So, number 7, application. How helpful are these guidelines for you to select the best research topics? So, I want you to explain kung ito bang mga guidelines na to is helpful or not. Why? Okay, sa pagpili ng best research topic. And of course, number 8, engagement activity natin, from the given guidelines on selecting a research topic, create 5 possible research topics that you are interested with. So dito, gamit yung inverted pyramid technique natin, gawa kayo ng, or pili kayo ng 5 research topic. Okay? So yun lang. Okay? I hope na nakatulong ulit yung video natin. So I will make this video hanggang kaya ko, para mas mapadali yung pagsagot natin dun sa modules and learning activity sheets natin. Humihingi rin ako ng paumanhin kasi hindi masyado maganda yung quality ng video because this is actually the first time na gumagawa ako nito. Masanay ako on a classroom setting para mas madaling ipaliwanag. But since ito na yung ating new normal, lahat nag-a-adjust, I'm also adjusting, but I'm promising that I'm going to be improving the quality of the videos as we go on through the semester. So good luck sa lahat. See you next time on our next video.